Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 21 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So I'm coming into today fresh off breaking 1400, and now begins the road to 1500. So let's hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent playing Drew. We'll play e4. And we'll do the usual, another Philidor. We had two Philidors in the previous episode. Generally, I do like to just break in the center right away. The main move here is knight takes d4. I'm in a gambit, play c3. Try and go into some kind of goring gambit. I could play bishop c4, actually. Maybe have some version of a Danish gambit. So black is preemptively preventing knight g5. I'll just castle, still allowing pawn takes pawn. But okay, it seemed like black did not want to take on b2. So now we have a position where I am down a pawn, but I have nice active development. There are a few things to consider here, like h3 preventing bishop g4. There's queen b3 attacking f7. There's another move here, queen c2, which I think I'll start with. This is somewhat multi-purpose. It gets the queen off the diagonal, so if bishop g4, I can reply with knight d4. And it also frees the d1 square for the rook. But if I play rook d1, there is still bishop g4, which is kind of annoying. Now there's another idea here, which... oh, do I go for? So another purpose with queen c2 is it sets up queen g6 in some positions. So for example, there's takes, e5, takes, and then queen g6. I think that's too crazy, even for me. Okay, I'm going to start with bishop f4. Just solid developing move. Hard to go wrong with such a move. And yeah, now I'm going to play h3. I really want to play rook d1, but I don't really want to deal with bishop g4. So bishop e6 makes sense. If I take, then black takes and gets the f-file. Maybe I can play knight d5 here. So avoiding the trade of bishops. If knight takes, I'll take back and fork. If bishop takes, I take back and kick the knight. Yeah, sometimes when you play such a gambit as white, you don't get like immediate tactics. It's more about the long-term compensation. In this case, more activity, a bit more space. And with knight e5, that's interesting. It looks like it blunders a pawn after takes, and takes. But then black maybe wins it back. So maybe I can take here first with check. But I don't want to trade down so much. Yeah, very interesting. So I'm calculating takes and takes and takes. Let's say takes and takes and takes. Do I have any tricks in the end? Not seeing much. And if I take and takes and then take, not even sure if I'm winning back the pawn in any line. Okay, I do see one potential trick, which starts with taking. And then I'll play rook d1. I'm assuming black's going to take back. Maybe black's considering taking here first. So my opponent should probably see through my ideas and not take the bishop. But if black takes the bishop, I'll take on f6 and I win the queen. Okay, so queen e8. And now I can happily take on e5. And now life is pretty good. So I've won back the pawn. d5 is well supported. I actually wonder if I could have gotten away with this first. Can analyze after the game. Maybe it was risky because in queen c6. But I'm definitely threatening this now. So I think it's likely we'll see black take on d5 with knight or bishop. Black plays c6. So maybe provoking me to fork, which I'm happy to do. Even though I don't take a pawn on c7, I do hit the queen and rook, and the bishop as a bonus. And the queen is almost trapped. I control d8. If queen b8, I take with discoveries. So queen c8, yeah, helps support e6. And now I could take here first. Yeah, let's trade, and then I'll take the rook. I'll attack the pawn. I do leave this pawn hanging, but e6 is a pretty glaring weakness. Ooh, king f7. Okay, now I'm going to take, and then try and get the rook in. Getting b7 as well. There's also the idea of f4, f5, which looks really nice. Yeah, I'm not so interested in the pawn when I can just go for the king. And if I get in f5, then I really want to open up the file and the diagonal. And I'm going to play f5 right away. Oh no, my rook. But yeah, if black were to take it, I would take back with double check and the fork. And now it's just cleanup time. Okay. Yeah, tough finish for my opponent, but they did play well, like in the early stage of the game. Accepted at least one pawn, and then I think black got a decently playable position. Engine slightly prefers black. Yeah, at this moment, I was considering taking and then pushing. I didn't go for this because after king h8, I didn't see a clear follow-up. Engine actually says white's already better here. So maybe I could have gone for this. e5 hangs in the end, which I did not quite see. But I played a little bit more controlled. And then, yeah, around here... Oh, black could have taken on d5 first. If I take that back with pawn, I lose the bishop. So I would have to take back with the bishop, still threatening to win the queen. But black could have gone for this and take on f4. And even if I win the queen, black has a lot of material for losing the queen. As rook, knight, and bishop, pawns are equal. So black could have been better here. That didn't happen, and then, yeah, the rest of the game was very smooth. So that brings me to 14-11. Let's keep it going. White again. I'll play e4. And let's play a different opening. Let's play knight c3, the Vienna. And I'll play a Vienna Gambit, how about? I know this opening has its core fan base. There was a point in time where Gotham Chess was preaching this opening. Bishop e7, not the most common move. Generally, if black allows me to take, and they can't take back with the pawn, then it should be very nice. It is true black gets a check, but yeah, the check is easily blocked. And now I could play d4. Let's develop first. Now I'll take, and then I'll continue with d4, attacking the queen. A nice looking position. Could take on d6. The center's defended. I'm also considering knight d5 here, but that would actually blunder to queen takes e4. So let's make sure the center is actually defended. And we'll develop with tempo. Oops. Maybe I should not have allowed that. But it's still looking nice. Can castle. Attacking the knight. Yeah, maybe I should have defended d4 first. The material is equal here. There's still some initiative. Knight d5. Knight d5, c6. Yeah, I do want to exert maximum pressure. I think knight d5 only helps black. Maybe I can play this move. And if c6 I go in. Yeah, even with the early queen trade, I still have some attack. Okay, here I can win the pawn, which is probably my best option. Black is playing very, very quickly. So the bishop on d6 is nice, preventing castling, at least in the short term. Opponent attacks with bishop a4. So I could play b3. And there's bishop d3. Let's start with b3. Feels like a common theme for my opponent, like putting the bishops on the side to attack me. Now attacks the pawn, which I don't have to defend. Considering just allowing it to be taken. Bishop c4. Also considering this move. Let's play bishop c4. Calculating bishop takes e4, rook e1, which is not happening. So black adds another attacker to e4. Can I get away with this move? Calculating e5, takes and then takes. Yeah, that looks like too much fun. If the e-file can open, there might be some quick mating attack too. Now I am down the exchange, but I'm either going to win the bishop or win the g7 pawn. Probably start by taking on g7. There's also this move. I'm going to start with this, actually. I think this is the trickiest. Well, then there's king d7. I have to be careful. Wait, I'm almost mating with bishop e5. Just realized bishop e5. There is bishop c6, though. Okay, I'm going to slow down and take some time here. Like, do I want to start with this, and then this? Maybe that's the way to go. And now f7's a target. So black could play bishop to h5. But the drawback of this move is now I have this check. And the king probably has to go to d8. Where's the follow-up? Not quite mate. Maybe this. Wow, there's a funny line. Okay, I'm going to play rookie 1. The funny line is a6 and then rook e8. Forcing takes and then takes. I'm guaranteed to queen. But black's attacking this, so I have to be a little bit careful. Is there any way to force this? So maybe c4. Just a simple defensive move. And then once black plays a6, it almost looks like my bishop's getting trapped, because bishop a4, there's b5. But I'll have this sequence rook e8, take, take, and then queen the pawn. I was also going to mention if black played some move like h6, there's rook e7 to d7. And now, just making sure this works. Take, take. Yeah, I mean, it's very forcing. Black has one legal move. And the pawn is going to queen. Black is almost fighting here. If I have to play queen g7, there's king takes g6. But I have bishop f8. The icing on the cake. Preserving the bishop and the queen. If b5, I have c5. Yeah, very strange type of position. Okay, now let's untangle. So unpinning the bishop. Yeah, I just want to optimize the bishop and the queen. Probably just use the dark squares too. Okay, here I'll play queen f8. Come in from behind. Oh, maybe I'll play g4 to set up queen e7 checkmate. That's a pretty mating pattern. Pawns controlling f5 and d5. Yeah, g4. Also just trying to make sure the king can't run too far. Okay, now check. I guess I could have checked earlier to win the rook. But is it mating? King f6. Okay. Yeah, black just resigns. So, nice game. It was a fun little tactical sequence there. Starting from the beginning. Yeah, I think I got a little bit careless allowing the d pawn to fall. Probably should have played a different move here. Bishop f4 is the second best move. Best move is knight to d5. Preparing this, and then c7 is probably going to be lost. So that brings me to 14-19. Let's keep it going. This time on black. We have d4. Let's play knight f6. And we'll have a Budapest. This might be one of my first Budapest Gambits of the speedrun. I think almost certainly the first Budapest Gambit accepted. And what do I want to do? Let's play this. Allow bishop f4. There's a famous trap here that I don't think my opponent is likely to fall for, but it might. Okay, knight c3 doesn't go into the trap line I was hoping for. So I'll have something to show after the game. There's a famous line after knight d2, which is not happening here. So I'm still down a pawn, but I am attacking e5 3 times. And this is a position I've had actually many times before, where white is trying to hold on to everything, but there's multiple pawn weaknesses. And I think a large percentage of players play queen d2 after which queen a5 will win back the pawn. I think the most challenging move here is rook c1, as the bishop does defend the rook. If rook c1, I'll play f6. Queen d3. Interesting. Yeah, I'll still play queen a5, which again attacks e5, but also keeps an eye on c3. And I don't think white has a move to hold on to both pawns. There's an added bonus, I'm defending c7, so e6 I can take it and not lose this. So from white's perspective, they should probably look to complete development. Either e3, bishop e2, e4 makes sense as well. All right, I'll take back on e5. Take again. Okay, a big trade. Now it's equal material, but white has slightly bad structure. I think I'll just play some normal moves. d6 makes sense. f4 doesn't scare me too much. Play queen c5. Get the bishop in. I like this c6 square for the bishop. Pressure the pawn, align with the king. And I'm keeping the rook on f8. I might want to put the other rook on e8 and go for f5. White is maybe offering a queen trade. That's interesting. I don't really want to trade queens. I also want to use my queen as a weapon, so I'll play queen e3, attacking the bishop and the pawn. White has no time to take. If white defends the bishop, then I can play this and probably win a pawn. So queen d3 is probably best. And now I'm realizing I might have to trade queens. Like there's not a great way to avoid the repetition. Like queen a3, it's too far on the edge. So this could actually turn into a positional lesson of how to try and convert a very small advantage of better pawn structure. Oh, I want to start with f6. I think I do. Generally, with positions of bishops of the same color, then both players want their pawns on dark squares. So that's basically what I'm setting up here. The pawns help complement my bishop. And the plan is to play rook e7, rook f e8. And then pile on the pawn. White is going to have a defensive battery. So now there's 3 attackers and 3 defenders. Now it would be nice, like if white plays g3, I could play f5 and the pawn is double pinned. But if white doesn't play g3, let's say plays king g1, and then I play f5, then there's e5. And that's probably counterproductive for me. So I'm going to put the king on a more central square. And I'm just going to make small improvements. Like b6 I think is useful. a5. Although a5 maybe not necessary. In the distant future, the rook might want to land on a5. So I'll play bishop to b7. This gives me the option of bishop a6. Yeah, this is definitely a style of game that I haven't had too much of in the speedrun. More of a grinding positional game. But at the end of the day, the main goal is to be instructive. Sometimes you have to do what the position calls for. I did try and play a tricky opening, but we just got a positional endgame. So bishop d3. Yeah, how to make progress. Actually thinking c6, d5 could be interesting. There's g5. The thing is, I'm in no rush. Like, it's very hard for white to make any significant improvements. And if anything, yeah, move like a4 actually hurts white a little bit, because now there's another target that can't move forward. And I'm going to put my bishop back on c6. Now aimed at both pawns. White plays bishop to c2. So now... yeah, still, how do I make progress? White is a little bit stuck. I'm going to play bishop e7. Basically what I'm doing is testing the waters. Trying to wait for an opportunity. Maybe now I can play bishop a6. And white's bishop is now stuck. There might be an idea to bring my king to c5. Even though it's kind of far away. If I can get it to c6, that's probably one way to make progress. Okay, we'll put the rook back on the e-file. And king c5. Yeah, another very important concept, especially in chess endgames, is sometimes you want to use your king as an active player. Like, players are so used to trying to keep their king safe. But in the endgame, that's sometimes how you end up winning games, is by having the more active king. Now, I do have to be careful. Like, rook b5, my king might get stuck. So, am I that concerned, though? White doesn't really have a threat. And this might just win another pawn. Yeah, let's go for pawn f5. E-pawn is pinned. And the king is applying constant pressure to c3. Okay, now we can trade down. Maybe take with rook is more forcing. And take with rook again. Now b5. Now it's all about the breakthrough. Okay, I'll take free pawns. Okay. GG. Yeah, that game went pretty deep into the endgame. Before I forget, I do want to show the potential opening trap here. That the most common move is knight d2. And when I first learned the Budapest Gambit, this is the very first variation I was shown. As black, you play queen e7, you attack the pawn, and a lot of players will play a3 to counterattack the bishop. And here there's a really cool move that black doesn't have to move the bishop, but can just take. And then if white takes on b4, this is checkmate. Very nice smother mate. And the bonus is, let's say white doesn't take the bishop, but takes the knight first, takes back, and then takes the bishop. It's still checkmate. So some players will take on e5, and then we want to make sure we take on d2 first. Make sure we get the value for our bishop, then take back, and it's a fair trade. Black is maybe slightly better with a more centralized queen. Of course, what happened in this game, we did not go into that. White played knight c3, which allows me to take and double the pawns and still attack this pawn. And then, yeah, got a nice position. Let's see what the eval bar says. Black is better. Yeah, mainly because of white's double pawns. And took some work, but overall pretty happy with the endgame grind. So that win brings me to 1427. Let's do another. Okay, next opponent, I'm white, play e4. We have a Sicilian. What do I want to play? Let's play knight f3. Not gambiting just yet. Knight c6. Now let's gambit. Let's play delayed wing gambit. Pawn b4. So if knight takes b4, I can play c3 and d4. Kind of reminiscent of an Evans gambit. And I had a game, I think a couple episodes ago, that featured a very similar opening. I played b4 on move 2. My opponent declined it with e6. And this basically allows white to take over the center for free and gaining time hitting the bishop. This check only helps me more reinforce the center. And I think it's very likely I'll end up playing d5. Expand and attack. Maybe open the e-file. Yeah, moving quickly here is very similar to positions I've had before. So it's nice that my knight is controlling e5, which means this knight has to retreat either to e7 or back to b8. Taking doesn't change too much. Although I guess there is queen e7 check and then knight e5, which is maybe the most active response. Knight e7. Okay, now this move is very tempting. I'm trying to see if I can win anything. I want to start with this. The pawn is easily supported. And d6 also helps keep this diagonal open. So bishop c4 will pressure f7. There might be some eventual tactics of queen d5 to hit f7 and hit the bishop. Or at least tie down the queen to defending the bishop. But black is maybe ready to play knight f6 and castle. So what to do? Bishop g5 is interesting. I'll take a moment here. If I play this, knight f6, I mean, there's always queen e2 to provoke king f8. That's probably one of the best approaches. Yeah, I'm going to start with bishop c4. And I think a key strategy here for white is to castle and then just get the rook to the e-file. A big problem for black, especially if they can't castle, the rooks will not be connected anytime soon. So if I can control the file and then double up on the file, it can lead to very good things. There's also the idea of h4, h5. So I might be a little bit spoiled for choice. Okay, queen f6. Maybe attacking the pawn on c3. Like one of the first moves that come to mind is bishop g5. But bishop g5 is kind of tricky actually. Allowing takes and then king f1. And then I would win the bishop for free. Okay, let's go for it. Should also mention the queen is almost trapped. Like the only safe square is f5. And then it's almost some kind of checkmate. I mean, I still have the plan of castling and rook e1. And then doubling up eventually. I wonder if black should take the pawn and then king f1. Black is kind of walking into the trap, but this might be the best line. I'm thinking black should take the rook and just give the queen. But then the position is still very, very pleasant for white. And queen d5 almost leads to lights out for black. But if I were black, I would take the rook. Take and then take. Queen d5, there is knight h6 to defend. Okay, black is playing the best line, so... I mean, do I want to play queen e2 first? I don't think it makes a difference. Take... Oh, and develops a knight. Interesting. I was just assuming the bishop would develop. So now... black is ready to castle. Queen e2. Trying to figure out if there's a big difference between queen e2 or queen e1. I'll play queen e1. I like keeping the queen on the first rank, because knight a3 could come with tempo. There's also queen a5 ideas. Oh, there's also knight g5 ideas. Yeah, I'll go for knight g5. Threatening mate in 1. And there's not much black can do about this. Rook f8 is maybe the best move. If knight e5, I'll play f4. Lose the bishop and then checkmate. Yeah, life is pretty good here. Bishop e5, okay. But that allows takes. And life is getting even better. Pawn f4, let's just take. Queen e7 will be checkmate. Okay, nice game. Hopefully a nice example of how good this gambit can be if black misplays the opening. E6 looks like a very normal move. Maybe a lot of Sicilian players who play this are used to playing this very soon, but against b4, black should probably accept the gambit. Taking, and then this, and then e6, and I think this is some theory, actually. I vaguely remember there's a counter trap that if white plays this too quickly, then queen f6, am I remembering correctly? Yeah, queen f6 is considered to be good for black. I had studied this at some point as my black repertoire, because there are some strong players who play this b4 gambit. So this is probably the line to learn for black. But anyway, I don't think there's so much more to analyze from this game. Pretty one-sided, especially once we got to this position. So I think I'll end it there, ending the episode at 14:35. Hope you guys enjoyed the chess today. If you have questions, leave them below. If you like the content, do subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.